Hey YouTube, Untamed here. So today's topic was not my intent for today's video, but I just received a phone call back from my local Toyota dealership, and I found the conversation to be quite appalling, to be honest. So I wanted to share it with you guys, not just to gossip and meow about it, but really to really convey for awareness the type of conversations that you're going to bump into as you're trying to buy a 2024 Toyota Landcruiser. So we all know Toyota just unveiled their brand new Landcruiser on August 1st. The day after that, I, like many people, called their local Toyota dealership. They called their local dealership and just said, hey, I'm interested in this vehicle. If there's ever going to be a wait list here in the near future, can I get on that? Can I kind of be among the first people that you call for it? So that's what I did. I did that with my local dealership here in little old Wyoming. and I can't believe the conversation that ensued here in a second. But I also did it with a couple neighboring dealerships down in Colorado. I called a few of them there, and I had very different conversations with them when I called them on the 2nd of August. I just got a phone call back from my local dealership, and what he said really bothered me. So I was like, hey, I'm interested in getting on the list when you get it. I told him this on the 2nd. He said, well, let me talk to my manager, and I'll likely follow up with you next day or two. So he just called me back, and what he said was, hey, we're going to be getting some Landcruisers, but as you know, you're going to be super hard pressed to find them. They're going to be very, very hard to come by, very rare, few allocations, and we will be charging a markup. We're going to be charging an ADM on it, additional dealer markup. He said, I've been working here for 6 years and I've never sold a Landcruiser or a Tier D Pro for less than a $5,000 markup. So he's like proud of it. He's kind of like bragging about it. And for this in particular, very least a $5,000. We're not sure yet, but likely a $10,000 ADM is what you can expect. To which I responded, that's kind of odd that you're still trying to do that, especially with interest rates so high, right? And I kind of gave that back to him. It's kind of odd you're still trying to do that. I mean, we're no longer in the pandemic. Supply and demand issues aren't what they were just a couple of years ago, year and a half ago. But he says, well, I mean, that's debatable, is what he tells me. He's like, that is up for debate for sure. I was like, well, I mean, at the very end of the day, just because you can doesn't mean you should, is what I told him. And again, he's just a sales rep, right? He's just kind of the mouthpiece of it all. Obviously the brains behind the operation there aren't with him. So I know that, but still I like trying to give it back to the sales reps so they know that they can't just take advantage of people left and right without any kind of repercussion or discussion on the topic, at least is what I do. So when I said just because you can doesn't mean you should, he said, well, I mean, I got bills to pay. That's what he says. So I've got bills to pay. So his bills, because he has bills, automatically, we get taken advantage of for that. And I responded with, well, I do too. So it turned into a little bit of a back and forth bickering, of course, but not that long. So we wrapped up the conversation as cordially as possible, but I just find it super frustrating that even today, dealerships are still trying to deploy those greedy tactics, and paint the picture of it being super impossible to get this vehicle, and you're gonna be so hard pressed for it. It's gonna be super rare. And I can't imagine how many people fall for that. A lot of people probably do fall victim to that, those tactics, and I find that super frustrating. Imagine, being so excited to get a vehicle. People watch the unveiling event for that Landcruiser. They got so excited for it, and then they call up their dealership, and then they take advantage of that excitement, right? And that's exactly what they're trying to do, and I find that super appalling. So, all that to say, when you call your dealerships and your local dealerships and your regional dealerships, do not let them deploy those tactics on you. Do not fall victim to that. Keep calling around. Because when I called just 30 minutes south of here at McDonald Toyota, the same dealership I just bought that 4Runner Tier D Pro for, the solar octane one here at MSRP, might I add, as you can see in my other video, I called them, had a very different conversation with them. They were way better, way more professional, and just awesome about the conversation. They're like, yeah, no, they're equally excited about the Landcruiser. They're like, yeah, absolutely, we can get you on the list. When we start making that, we'll put you toward the top. Annotate your information here. Thanks for calling. It was great. MSRP, for sure. MSRP. They did MSRP all throughout the pandemic. And I guess I'll use this as an opportunity. If you worked with a dealership throughout the pandemic and throughout the last few years, and they continued to charge MSRP or better, throw their name in the comment section, kind of share the love a little bit. If you worked with somebody, no matter the state that you live in, just kind of share and hype them up and give them a shout out, because there are good dealerships out there. And unfortunately, these sour ones tend to kind of taint the pools a little bit and kind of ruin the reputation for the good ones too. So don't let these bad guys ruin it for the good dealerships that do exist. So keep calling around. I guarantee it, you're going to find a dealership willing to sell you a new Landcruiser, 2024 Landcruiser for MSRP. I guarantee it. Because one of the things that McDonald Toyota told me, hopefully this is true, hopefully it is. I mean, he relayed that a few weeks ago they'd gotten a notice from Toyota indicating that they will be producing much higher numbers of the Landcruiser, which makes sense given the price point, of course, right? Starting in the mid-50s, a lot more people are going to be in that market fishing for it and interested in it, of course. So much higher production numbers is what he alluded to. Again, not really confirmed, but that's what he told me on the phone anyway. But I believe it. Super believable. Not to mention, if the Landcruiser does end up replacing the 4Runner here, of course, there's going to be much higher production numbers. So all that to say, don't let the greedy dealerships take away from your excitement. Be excited about that new Landcruiser. Just keep calling, keep picking up the phone, and don't get tricked and fooled by their greedy tactic at the end of the day. What's one thing you could do? I know it feels small. It feels like such a small thing to do, but I encourage you, if you do call that dealership and they are sour like that, say, no thanks, I won't be buying from you, buy MSRP or better, and that's all I'll do. Tell them that. You can give them the feedback too, that you shouldn't be doing that just because you can't doesn't mean you should. Give them that feedback. Let them hear that from you, and then write them a 1-star review. Go on Google reviews, write them a 1-star review. I know it's small. I know it feels kind of whatever, but take the literally 30 seconds of your life and give them a 1-star review and say, hey, unfortunately, dealership deploys greedy tactics. They try to charge markups over their vehicles, blah, 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 over inventory that they don't even have yet. So give them that 1-star review. If enough of us continue to do that, Toyota takes note. They look at their reviews. They'll look and be like, oh crap, yeah, this little dealership in Wyoming is really taking advantage of people. So they're kind of diluting the excitement around our product is what they're doing. So I encourage you to do that and just keep calling, and I guarantee you will get one at MSRP. I promise you. So I guess I'll kind of leave off this video. Sorry, it turned into me ranting a little bit, but I'll leave off on this video with just my thoughts in general on markups, okay? I personally, of course, I've owned a lot of Tier D Pros. I've owned a lot of Landcruisers, and of course, I have personally benefited from the higher prices of these things. Right? So I mean, that's a no-brainer. Because there are so many states and dealerships that continue to ask for markups, that allows the residual value to sustain, to be really high, sometimes even better than MSRP used, which is kind of ugly to say out loud, right? But that has been the case, and of course I too have benefited from that. But I would still 100% without a doubt much prefer if Toyota had some control on their dealerships and made MSRP the top. If they mandated that they got rid of markups in general, or disciplined the dealerships that did do greedy dealership markups, I think that'd be better. If we kept them all at MSRP, I think that would just allow much more excitement over the brand in these new vehicles. People, imagine watching that unveiling event the other day and thinking to yourself, oh man, that's a freaking awesome Landcruiser. I'm gonna get one. Kind of going online and issuing your build order for it and kind of building it, speccing it the way you want, and not having to worry or stress about being able to get one, and then let alone getting it at a fair deal. Right? So now you gotta start your battle at that point in today's world, and just try your best to try to find an honest dealership, and that can be a chore, unfortunately. So I think it dilutes the water, and it kind of hinders the excitement level of these new vehicles when we have dealerships meddling with the price tags like that. So even if it meant losing out on the residual value of my 4Runner Tier D Pro here, I would much prefer if Toyota sold them all at MSRP across the United States, right? Without, or better, MSRP or better, right? Remember when MSRP was kind of like a bad deal, but MSRP or better. If they just kind of mandated that and got rid of the whole tomfoolery of 10 grand markups, I think we'd be in a better place, and there'd be much more excitement around the brand. So I digress. Sorry this turned into a little bit of a rant, but Let me know how you would have handled that conversation, and let me know if you bumped into a similar conversation and what your approach is to try to avoid those greedy dealers and get one for MSRP. As always, I appreciate you watching. Till next time.